Springboard diving is a beautiful sport. It requires grace, strength, flexibility, and mental fortitude to walk down that diving board alone, knowing that all eyes are on you and that the judges are going to scrutinize your every move, whether your legs are straight, your toes are pointed, and if you've entered the water perfectly positioned. What was less beautiful, however, was the process of learning that new dive. And I used to be a diver at the University of Notre Dame, and I vividly remember this process. Our coach would always have us start on the trampoline. He would put us in this belt where he would help to pull our weight so we wouldn't land on our head. Then we would move to the 1-meter diving board where we would try a really basic form of the dive. We might do 2 flips instead of the 2.5 that we would need to do when it came to 3-meter. I have to admit, though, I'm a bit of a wimp. And when it came to learning a new dive, I was always really cautious and conservative. I knew how much it hurt to land on the water wrong, and I had the bruises to prove that it hurt to smack. So when it came time to learn a new dive, I would always weigh my chances of successfully completing it with belly flopping. And in these circumstances, my teammates, both male and female, would say this phrase to encourage me. They would say, "Natalie, man up." Man up? I'm not a man, but I knew exactly what they meant because we hear phrases like this in our society all the time. We hear, "Man up," "be a man," "I hope that my son becomes a man one day." And to me, what they were doing was they were encouraging me. They were telling me that I should be tough, aggressive, fearless. And those are all good things. It's good to be tough. It's good to be aggressive. It's good to be fearless. What I never stopped once to ask, however, was why didn't they tell me to woman up? Why didn't they say, "Natalie, woman up"? And I've thought about this a lot, and I've come to the conclusion that they didn't say, "Natalie, woman up," because they didn't really want that for me. Our society doesn't often want both men and women to woman up in the same way that we want both men and women to man up. Of course, there are exceptions. Some women want to be more feminine or more girly. But often, our society places the masculine on a pedestal, and we see the feminine as something that's inferior. Now, bear with me here. I'm going to play on a few stereotypes, but we see this in many ways in our society today. We're very comfortable when women enter traditionally male spaces. We're very comfortable if a woman wants to take on an executive position in a corporation. And we glorify women who have done this, like Sheryl Sandberg, who is a COO at Facebook. We're very comfortable when young women want to take on sports that require more masculine traits like aggression, such as rugby or soccer. And we've glorified women who are physically powerful, like Serena Williams or Lindsey Vonn. Even in really simple ways, we're used to hearing women express their favorite colors as blue or green, which are stereotypically masculine colors. So we're very used to hearing women take on the masculine traits. We're very used to hearing women take on feminine traits. What we're less used to is seeing men take on more feminine traits. We're not as comfortable when men express a desire to become a nanny or a nurse or a secretary, stereotypically feminine jobs that require caring or compassion or communication. We're not as comfortable when a man expresses a fervent desire to become a ballerina or a figure skater, stereotypically feminine sports that require expression and emotion. Even with the simple idea of favorite colors, we're not used to hearing men express their favorite colors as pink or purple, stereotypically feminine colors. And we're not used to hearing, or we're not used to seeing men cry or show vulnerability. So what I'm going to ask from you tonight is that you not only man up in your life, which is a really good thing, but that you also begin to woman up too. In Chinese, the word woman means we. And so what I'm going to ask is that you start to give women a chance, that you start to give the we or us a chance. So what's the problem when we over-glorify masculinity and undervalue femininity? Oh, sorry. There are a few problems with this. The first is that it can be harmful, especially for young men. Young men are 3 times less likely to wear a seatbelt than young women. And it's no wonder when we've told them to be fearless and to take risks. In the US today, 85% of homicides have been committed by men. And in the last 3 decades, of the 100 mass shootings that have happened in the US, 98 of those have been committed by men. And it's not only harmful in many ways, but a lot of men also miss out on opportunities. There was a study done that found that when men were more present as fathers in the home, they had higher rates of job satisfaction and lower rates of substance abuse. When they took on these more stereotypically feminine roles, they were happier. Now, this isn't only a problem for young men. This is also problematic for young women in many ways, too, and this often comes in the form of missed opportunities. There was a massive study done by the Peterson Institute of Economics, and they looked at 22,000 companies across 91 different countries, so an enormous study. And what they found was that when a company moved from a leadership team that was just 0% women to 30% women, their net revenue increased by 15%. Alibaba is a perfect example of this. They're one of the biggest corporations in the world, and they're one of the most successful corporations in the world, and half of their employees are women, and 33% of their leadership team is female. Now, I want to be very clear that what I'm not saying is that only women can be successful. What I am saying is that maybe diversity or what women can bring or those feminine traits are important. Women tend to take fewer unnecessary risks. Women tend to be really strong team players, and sometimes that can make the difference in a corporation. What becomes tricky is getting those women into that leadership position, however. I'm going to cite one more study that happened in 2012, and they asked people of all ages, from ages 8 to 65, they asked people to draw what they thought a leader should look like. And nearly 80% drew men. Now, that's not necessarily a problem. That can be a good thing. But I realized that this study made me reflect and realize that if I had been asked to do this maybe 5 years ago, I probably would have drawn a man. At a previous school where I worked, I was on a hiring team, and we were hiring for this leadership position. And I realized that when I was interviewing people, I always glorified the masculine and undervalued the feminine. Every time that a male candidate was confident or at ease or comfortable, I thought, oh, leader. And every time that a woman was a little more nervous or reserved or hesitant, I didn't see that as leadership. And so what I've really worked on in my own life is when I go into an interview today, I try to know my biases and elevate the feminine to be on the same level as a masculine. So moving forward from all of these problems, I think it's really important that we have a conversation about how much I absolutely love boba, sometimes known as bubble tea. I absolutely love boba. And I remember when I first drank bubble tea, I could not help but think how weird this drink was. Like, there's this milk tea, and then there are these tapioca things shooting up the straw. And I remember thinking, like, who would ever combine these things together? They seem to make no sense. And so sometimes I like to picture how this even started. And what I imagine is there maybe, I don't know, 100 years ago or so, there was a person selling milk tea on the side of the road, and they thought, gosh, I have this amazing product. I am selling things really well. People love what I'm selling. I don't need anything to make it better. One day, However, a person walking down the street passes by selling tapioca balls, and they say, hey, let's combine our product. I think it would be really great. And at first, the person selling milk tea says, no, I don't need anything else. I already have this amazing product. I don't need to make it any better. Fortunately, for all of you boba drinkers out there, they decided to combine. And what they realized was that these two things that were separate but equally good products, when they combined, they became something even better. So, many of you in this audience tonight are high school students, and you are perfectly positioned to shape the society that you want to live in. And you being here tonight tells me that hopefully you have an open mind. And I recognize that when you leave this talk, it may be tempting to go home and poke holes in all of my arguments and rib each other and laugh and give each other a hard time and say, like, woman up. And that's okay. Those are okay things to do. But I hope that when you truly reflect, I hope that you are open to the message that I'm sharing with you tonight. I hope that when you talk to your male friends, I hope that you encourage them to be vulnerable. I hope that if they need to cry, you tell them that that's okay. I hope that you tell your male friends to not only man up, but I hope you tell them to woman up too. I hope that you encourage your female friends to embrace those things that make them feminine, that they should embrace being caring or compassionate or maybe risk avoidant. And I hope that you live in a society where those traits are seen as an asset, are seen as valuable. I hope that when you are walking down the hallway next week and you hear something that's disparaging toward women or disparaging toward a feminine trait, I hope that if you hear someone say, don't cry, don't be a girl, or women only belong in the kitchen, I hope that you question them or that you enter into a dialogue with them. I hope that if you are on a hiring committee one day, I hope you don't make the same mistake that I did, and I hope that you know your biases and you elevate the feminine to match the masculine. I hope that you give women, us, a chance. And I hope that you combine milk tea and tapioca in your life, and that you not only man up, but that you woman up too. Thank you.